Thousands of years ago, among the sands of Egypt, a voice spoke words that would transcend time. It was the voice of Thoth, the god of wisdom, the divine scribe who, according to the ancients, taught humanity the language of creation, the science of the soul. Among his lost writings lies a single mysterious phrase: "A time will come when no eyes will look to the sky." And today, perhaps, that time has arrived. What was Thoth trying to tell us? What does it mean to live in an age where human eyes, filled with technological knowledge, have gone blind to the unseen? This message didn't find you by coincidence. Synchronicity is how the universe arranges meetings between awakened souls. If you are here, it's because something ancient within you recognizes these words. We live in a world that measures everything but forgets how to feel. We observe the heavens through telescopes but no longer contemplate them with the soul. Thoth's prophecy was never about the physical act of looking upward. It was about spiritual amnesia, the disconnection from the divine, the loss of awe before the mystery. When no eyes look to the sky, humanity turns completely downward, toward matter, immediacy, and ego. But something deeper is unfolding. Modern science is beginning to confirm what the ancients already knew. Consciousness shapes reality. Neuroscience and quantum physics reveal that attention is a creative act. Where your focus goes, reality responds. So when we stop looking to the sky, to the field of infinite possibilities, we lose the ability to co-create our world. This is the true forgetting. And the reason this prophecy resurfaces now is simple. The cycle is closing. We are being called to remember. Before we move forward, subscribe to this channel, not just to support content, but as a symbolic act of choice. Each time you decide to remain in this field of awareness, you strengthen the network of awakened consciousness. This space is for minds that no longer settle for superficial explanations. For those who know the sky was never far, only forgotten. Today, we remember. Who was Thoth? That seemingly simple question opens one of the most intricate passages in the spiritual history of humankind. The Egyptians called him Jehuti, he who is like the ibis, a bird with long wings and a serene gaze, walking along the Nile as the dance of the sky reflected upon the water. This image, both poetic and symbolic, is essential. Thoth was not merely a god. He was the bridge between the visible and the invisible, patron of writing, of the measurement of time, of celestial calculation, and of ordered thought, but above all, the guardian of the word. In ancient inscriptions at the temples of Hermopolis, it was said that Thoth taught humanity the power of the creative word, Heka. Through it, the universe was woven, and through it, humankind could remember its divine origin. But over time, the word became noise. Language, once a bridge, became a wall. Speech began to express what man wanted to possess, not what he wished to understand. It is in this context that the prophecy emerges. A time will come when no eyes will look to the sky. This phrase appears in fragmented variations across papyri and later Hermetic texts, many lost and rediscovered under different names, especially in writings attributed to Hermes Trismegistus, the Greek reflection of Thoth. Some say it was not a literal prophecy but a philosophical warning, a premonition of the forgetting of the sacred. In the Hermetic corpus, Thoth, now Hermes, laments humanity's fate. There will come a time when men will cease to revere the divine, when the earth will lose its harmony, and the sky, once contemplated, will be ignored. No man will lift his eyes to the heights. The holy will be deemed mad, and the wise, foolish. These words were written over 2,000 years ago, yet they describe our age with unsettling precision, not because Thoth could see the future, but because he understood the cycles of consciousness. To the Egyptians, time was not linear. It was a circle, and at each turn, humanity passed through the same threshold of forgetting and remembrance. Thoth's prophecy did not announce the end, but the repetition, the moment when the collective soul would drift away from its origin only to be called back once more. Just as the sun disappears each night only to be reborn at dawn, the human gaze also dims before it finds light again. Perhaps the prophecy's true meaning is not in the fear of forgetting, but in the beauty of return. As one of Thoth's attributed fragments says, "Man is a mirror of the heavens, and when he ceases to look upward, the heavens forget to look upon him." When the priests of Hermopolis realized that the ancient world was on the edge of irreversible transformation, they hid what they could. Scrolls, stone tablets, formulas, and fragments were buried, encrypted, and wrapped in metaphor so they might survive the ruin of time. It was said that the true temple of Thoth was not built in any Egyptian city, but in the space between two thoughts, a place only accessible to those who could silence the inner world. Hermetic wisdom then spread in silence. In Greece, Thoth became Hermes Trismegistus, the thrice great, master of the alchemy of mind, body, and spirit. For centuries, his writings circulated underground, preserved by philosophers, Gnostics, and mathematicians who saw the cosmos as a living organism. What survived was not merely mythology, but a symbolic map of human understanding. The notion that the universe is mind, and all that exists is the expression of an intelligent principle thinking itself into being. The Greeks called it nous, the Hermetists, logos, modern physicists, the quantum field. The language changes, but the mystery remains the same. Across all of them echoes Thoth's message, that man is not the observer of the universe, but a part of it, that the act of observation alters what is observed. In the Hermetic texts, we find a declaration that anticipates quantum physics itself. That which is above is like that which is below, and that which is below is like that which is above, so that the miracle of the one may be accomplished. This phrase, the principle of correspondence, forms the foundation of Hermetic philosophy. It tells us that the macrocosm and the microcosm mirror each other, that to look to the heavens is to look within. Thus, when Thoth warned that no eyes will look to the sky, he also meant man will cease to look into himself. At the height of the Library of Alexandria, scholars sought to decode these symbols and translate them into formulas. For the first time, science and spirituality coexisted without conflict. Astronomers studied the stars not only as physical bodies, but as expressions of the soul of the cosmos. Mathematicians saw numbers as vibrational keys, and healers understood that to cure the body was also to harmonize the spirit. But with Alexandria's fall, much of that legacy was consumed by fire. Silence followed. Humanity, dazzled by the power of matter, began to build a world stripped of mystery. What was once symbol became superstition, and yet the flame did not die. It was guarded by initiates, alchemists, and seekers who passed it from generation to generation, until it resurfaced quietly in modern thought, in-depth psychology, philosophy, and frontier science. Today, when physics speaks of subtle fields and particles that behave differently under human observation, one cannot help but hear the distant echo of Thoth's voice. Perhaps he never disappeared. He merely waited to be remembered. Every civilization is built upon a language, and when a language dies, an entire way of perceiving the world dies with it. The ancient Egyptians understood this viscerally. For them, words were not merely tools of communication. They were living entities. Each sound, each hieroglyph, carried a fragment of the universe's original vibration. To speak a name was to summon a force. To write a symbol was to carve energy into the fabric of reality. That is why Thoth was the god of the word. He did not simply record time, he sustained the rhythm of creation through the act of naming. In myth, he weighed the souls of the dead and inscribed their fates in the book of life. But symbolically, he represented something even greater, the conscious observer, the gaze that contemplates, recognizes, and gives form to the world. The prophecy, "No eyes will look to the sky," can therefore be read as a metaphor for rupture, the moment when humankind ceased to see reality symbolically and began to see it functionally. The sky, in this sense, is not only the physical firmament, but the field of subtle possibilities, the unseen dimension where reality is conceived before it manifests. When humanity stopped speaking the language of symbol, it began speaking the language of utility, and in doing so, it lost its ability to perceive the sacredness of existence. The sun was no longer consciousness awakening, but a sphere of plasma. The stars ceased to be guides and became distant burning matter. The gaze turned technical, the word turned descriptive, reality became merely reality. But here lies the paradox. In abandoning the symbolic, humanity believed it was freeing itself from superstition, when in truth, it was imprisoning itself within literalism. The human mind became linear, unable to converse with the invisible. And it was in that moment that the prophecy began to unfold, not as punishment, but as consequence. When no eyes look to the sky, it is not the heavens that close, it is man who closes himself to the heavens. Consciousness, forgetting itself, begins to believe that what it sees is all that exists. Yet Thoth, the silent scribe, remains. He observes, he writes, and in every era, he awakens a few to remember that the word still vibrates. The gaze can still be restored, and the lost language still sings within those who dare to contemplate. Do you sense what is happening here? Since you began hearing these words, something within you has been moving. It is not mere curiosity. It is recognition. You are not learning something new. You are remembering something ancient. The writings of Thoth, the words of the ancients, were never meant to inform. They were meant to activate. When you hear a true symbol, something awakens. It is as if the cells of your body recall the music the universe played when you were born. Perhaps you've noticed, this message is different. There are no formulas, no promises, no techniques of power. There is only one invitation. Look to the sky again, truly. Not the physical sky, but the vast field of awareness that lives within you. You live in an age of constant noise, where silence has become a luxury, an age where distraction has replaced presence. That is why so few look upward, because verticality frightens. To look to the sky is to remember that you came from it, and that, however dense this reality feels, it is still made of light. What you are hearing now is not another spiritual reflection. It is a call, and it is not collective. It is personal. If you've made it here, it's because your listening has purpose. You are part of the silent minority who still feel the vibration of an ancient truth beneath the noise of the world. Pay attention. The words you read, the ideas you absorb, are shaping your vibrational field at this very moment. And the way you respond to them, with doubt, fascination, or reverence, determines the kind of reality that arranges itself around you. That is why the affirmations you leave here, in the comments or in your personal notebook, are more than words. They are codes of vibration. When you write, read, and repeat consciously, you create an energetic circuit that reprograms the mind and anchors a new timeline into your field. So when I invite you to comment, it is not to boost engagement. It is to feed the collective flow of consciousness. It is an act of anchoring. Daily repetition turns vibration into identity. If you wish to seal this understanding now, right, here, or to yourself. I consciously choose the frequency that creates my world. Repeat this phrase in the coming days, aloud or in silence. Let it become the soundtrack of your vibrational field. For each time you speak it, the universe rearranges its particles around that new coherence, and slowly, everything that no longer resonates begins to dissolve, naturally, effortlessly. We live in the age of information, but not of wisdom. Never before has humanity had such access to knowledge, and never before has it been so distant from itself. It is the paradox of hyperclarity. The more we see the world, the less we contemplate it. The human gaze, the same one Thoth warned would turn away from the heavens, now bends toward screens. The radiance of the firmament has been replaced by the glow of devices. Constellations, once guides for navigators and initiates, have been traded for constellations of icons and notifications. Without noticing, we now live beneath an artificial sky made of pixels and algorithms. This is not a condemnation of technology. In essence, it is neutral, an extension of the human mind, an attempt to replicate the very structure of creation. The digital web is, in a sense, an imperfect reflection of the universal field of information that ancient Hermetists described. The issue is not technology itself. It is the forgetting of the sacred encoded within it. When man created the machine, he imitated the movement of the cosmos, a system that processes energy and turns information into form. But in doing so, he left out the mystery. He built systems that function but do not dream, networks that connect but do not commune, languages that encode but do not reveal. And so the gaze became horizontal. It drifts between screens, headlines, and data, but rarely ascends. The inner sky has been replaced by a constant stream of stimuli. The prophecy quietly fulfills itself. No eyes look to the sky, not from incapacity, but from distraction. Thoth foresaw this moment not as apocalypse, but as inflection. He knew that one day humanity would turn so fully toward matter that it would forget its origin. But he also knew that excess would lead to collapse, and that collapse would mark the threshold of awakening. Perhaps that is where we stand now. The saturation of noise, the fatigue of information, the ancient biological body struggling to decode a world moving at the speed of light, the divine spirit trying to be heard amid the hum of circuits. There is something profoundly symbolic in this. The digital networks connecting billions have fulfilled the alchemist's dream, the unification of the collective mind. But without consciousness, that unity does not liberate. It imprisons. It is as if humankind has reached the heavens through artificial means, unaware that to truly dwell there, it must first remember the inner path. The sky has not disappeared. We have simply forgotten to look. Everything that falls asleep someday awakens, and the same cycle that made humanity's gaze turn away from the heavens is what now makes it long to find them again. The ancients knew, awakening is not a sudden event, but a gradual remembrance. It begins with discomfort, the sense that something is missing even when everything appears complete. It is the echo of the soul calling the body back toward its original direction. We live in that moment, the collapse of meaning that crosses the world, in beliefs, in institutions, in relationships, is not an ending but a collective birth. Human consciousness is changing frequency, and what once seemed separate now reveals itself as a single intelligence reorganizing itself. That is the true meaning of apocalypse, not destruction, but revelation. And what is being revealed now is precisely what Thoth sought to preserve, the golden thread linking the human mind to the cosmic mind. Science, once materialistic, is beginning to find traces of mystery in unexpected places, in the behavior of particles, in the nature of light, in the phenomena of awareness. Philosophers, physicists, and neuroscientists now speak of subtle fields, entanglement, parallel realities, concepts that, in essence, restate in modern language what ancient scribes once expressed in hieroglyphs and metaphor. But true awakening does not happen in universities or temples. It happens in silence, within every human being who, amidst the confusion of the world, feels that there is something more. It is a moment without a name, a flash of lucidity that pierces the noise and whispers, "I remember." When that happens, the sky exists again, not as scenery, but as mirror. The gaze that once searched outward begins to recognize inward, and so the cycle completes itself. Humanity looks to the heavens once more, this time with the eyes of the soul. In the Hermetic texts, there is a rarely quoted passage describing this moment. When man once again contemplates the celestial, the unseen shall become visible, the lost word shall be heard anew, and the heart of the world shall beat within the heart of man. Perhaps this is precisely what we are living, the reactivation of the cosmic language that has always resided within us, the reconnection between word and vision, between symbol and science, between Thoth and the human mind, which are, ultimately, the same being in different states of remembrance. The prophecy was never about forgetting. It was about return. It foretold the moment when the sky would once again be seen, not with the eyes, but with consciousness. And every person who awakens to this truth fulfills quietly the destiny of the cosmos itself, to remember itself through us. Hidden within Thoth's prophecy lies a key, not one that opens doors of stone, but gateways of perception. That key is the word, not the grammatical word, but the primordial word, the vibration that gives form to the invisible. According to the ancient Egyptians, the world was created when Thoth pronounced the secret name of everything. The universe was not born from silence, but from a sound so pure it became light. This idea echoes across all traditions, from the Vedic Om to the Christian Logos, from the shamanic breath of creation to the Big Bang of modern cosmology. Different languages describing the same phenomenon, information becoming existence. Today, theoretical physics describes the universe as an immense field of information. Everything that exists, atoms, thoughts, emotions, stars, is an organized expression of that field. In essence, reality is information in motion. And what Hermetic philosophy taught millennia earlier is that this information responds to the consciousness that observes it. This is why Thoth was called the scribe of the gods. He symbolized the intelligence that writes the universe, moment by moment, according to what is perceived. Every gaze, every thought, every mental sound is a letter in that cosmic manuscript. What we call reality is the text we are constantly writing with our own attention. In the Hermetic fragments we find the famous phrase, "The all is mind, the universe is mental." For centuries, this was dismissed as mysticism, yet today it resonates with the language of quantum physics and information theory. All that we call matter is simply energy organized by patterns of information, and information itself is consciousness in motion. Symbolically, Thoth did not create the world. He read it aloud, and the act of reading made it exist. That is the power of the word. Not the sound itself, but the conscious intention behind it. It is the inner gaze recognizing order where there was chaos. Every human being carries, on a smaller scale, that same divine function. We are scribes of reality. Each thought is an inscription, each emotion an ink, each perception a word written into the fabric of time. Awakening, therefore, is not a practice. It is a recognition, realizing oneself as an active participant in the text the universe writes. And when that realization dawns, something shifts. The word ceases to be unconscious noise and becomes sacred sound again. The gaze ceases to wander and begins to create. And the prophecy starts to reverse itself. For when humankind remembers that it is the gaze that writes the sky, no eye will ever cease to look upon it again. And thus, we arrive at the point where the circle closes. Thoth's prophecy, which began as a warning of forgetting, ends as a revelation of return. No eyes will look to the sky, he said, but perhaps its true meaning is this. Only when the human gaze had turned fully downward could it learn, at last, to rise again, consciously. Every shadow exists so that light can be known, and perhaps humanity's forgetting was the price of freedom, the chance to choose, by its own will, to rediscover the sacred. Awakening is not granted. It is reclaimed through remembrance. We live at the dawn of a new cycle. Something vast and quiet is unfolding, even as the surface of the world seems chaotic. Beneath the noise and the turmoil, a new consciousness is rising, not as belief, but as direct perception. People are beginning to feel the call of the heavens within themselves, and that is the sign that the word has begun to vibrate again. Thoth's knowledge was never about religion. It was about remembering, about realizing that the universe is not outside of us, but expressed through us. When we look to the sky, we are not searching for something distant. We are remembering who we are. The firmament is the mirror of the soul, and the soul is the reflection of the firmament. They remember each other eternally. So the next time you gaze upon the sky, in silence, at night, or in any quiet moment, remember this. The gaze that observes and the cosmos observed are the same thing, spiraling together. You are both the scribe and the text. You are Thoth, writing the universe with your own awareness. The time of prophecy has ended. Now begins the time of recognition, and each time one being awakens, the sky opens a little more, revealing new constellations of understanding. If this message has resonated with you, share it. Help expand this field of consciousness, for each awakened soul illuminates hundreds more. Leave your comment, your vibration, your testimony, not for engagement, but because your energy is part of this collective construction. And remember, the highest timeline is not a place in the future. It is a state of being, available here and now. May you walk in peace, in clarity, and in love. Until the next awakening.